Mainstream science dismisses this, but it is embraced by those who study or believe in paranormal phenomena. I won't talk too much about this particular possible mechanism of premonition. The ones that I'll focus on are these two. Premonitions play an adaptive role in terror management for individuals facing life-threatening illness. The other potential is that premonitions can be understood as the process of meaning-making, resulting in finding meaning where the potential for meaninglessness exists in the face of a life-threatening illness. So in terms of terror management comes from the work of Ernest Becker, who hypothesized that in order to mitigate against death anxiety, human beings create culture. Human beings are unique in that we're aware of our existence, and several hundred years ago, Kierkegaard postulated that as a result of this awareness of our existence and the awareness of the finiteness of life, the fact that we die and that we could die at any moment, we experience both awe, the awesomeness of life, and dread, the dreadfulness of the fact that we could die, that we will die and we could die at any moment. And so death anxiety is a prominent existential concern of human beings. And this concern, Ernest Becker postulated, was mitigated by human beings in the development of early cultures. And most of our early cultures involved religion as well. So these are humanly constructed beliefs about the reality that reduce death anxiety. All cultures, and religions as well, elucidate the origins of the universe. Where did I come? They answer the big cosmological questions. Where did I come from? What am I doing here? Where am I going? They answer all those questions for you. They prescribe appropriate behaviors, values, and virtues, and offer literal or symbolic paths to immortality. So human beings thus manage existential terror by believing that life is meaningful, and from the self-esteem they obtain by meeting or exceeding these cultural values. Meaning-making is the defining characteristic of human beings as a species. Frankl proposed that the need to find meaning or create meaning in human existence was a basic motivating force of human behavior. And meaninglessness is the basic existential concern. Now, some existentialists, like Sartre or Camus, believe that the world was devoid of externally given meaning, and that human beings must create their own meaning in life in an existence that was essential, in a world that was essentially meaningless. Frankl and others believed that we had a role in making meaning in our lives, but they also believed in the possibility of some ultimate meaning, a meaning perhaps predetermined by a creator. For human beings, such search for a meaning that was predetermined by a creator, that human beings must search for and hopefully find and fulfill. So there's a meaning that's predestined, that's out there waiting for you to find. Human beings can then be sort of categorized into a variety of groups. Those who believe that we have to make meaning and that we create our own meaning and our own destiny in our lives. And those who believe that meaning and destiny are already created for us and are there for us to either uncover or discover. I fall into the third group, which are folks who pick and choose which one of these meanings, these constructs of existence, they believe in based on the context. If I'm in a heap of trouble, I believe that maybe there's something out there that's predestined. Premonitions confirm a predetermined destiny, and that's the adaptive function they play. So, if one can revise the definition of premonition, premonition is a forewarning, a warning in advance, and from the etymology of premonition, of forewarning, fore or pre, as in what preceded or came before us. it to happen. The conditions and factors that existed before an event in the past that determines what happens in the future. For instance, your family history, being born with the BRCA1 gene. So premonition is a little bit like remembering, and is much closer to intuition as a phenomenon in the sense that we do capture glimpses of some pieces of information that can help us elucidate a future, what will happen to us in the future. So remembering where we came from, which informs where we are now, gives us some information about what will happen in the future. So let me tell you a little bit more about this one case that really got me interested about talking about premonition in this particular lecture. It's a 60-year-old woman with ovarian cancer who presented with persistent anxiety about the potential for recurrence. She was distressed that her ovarian cancer was not diagnosed earlier. She described just knowing that she was going to develop ovarian cancer since her late 30s. So for almost 30 years, she just knew that she was going to develop ovarian cancer. And she kept asking doctors to check her for ovarian cancer. She recalls that the one variable that may have been in existence at the time that she began to have these kind of thoughts that she just knew she was going to have ovarian cancer was Gilda Radner's diagnosis with ovarian cancer at her death. Despite her request for close monitoring, the doctors declined to do so, and her ovarian cancer was found late. She got successful treatment, was very concerned, and had a premonition that her cancer was going to relapse. She denied a family history of ovarian cancer, but interestingly, her father was a physician, not a OBGYN physician. And at her diagnosis, she learned that she was BRCA1 positive. And she'd become much more religious since her diagnosis and started to study Kabbalah and the Talmud. Now, there's an old Jewish myth about premonition and destiny. And this myth talks about the following. The soul, before it plunges down to enter human form, as the sperm and the ovum start to fertilize, or join to be fertilized, sort of a trinity thing going on there. Just before the soul enters the fertilizing egg, sperm, God reveals to this soul everything that's going to happen in their lives. How long they're going to live, who they're going to fall in love with, whether they're going to be happy or sad, whether they're going to develop diseases or not, whether they're going to suffer, whether they're going to die 1 hour after death, 1 minute after death, or 100 years after birth, or 100 years after birth. Whether they're going to develop debilitating diseases, whether they're going to die suffering and pain. Everyone is informed of their destiny. And then God asks the soul whether the soul accepts that destiny. And because the soul hasn't yet entered human form, the soul's will and God's will are the same. So the soul always says, yes, I accept that. And just at the last moment, an angel hits the soul on its symbolic mouth, thus producing the frenum, which is that little indentation on your upper lip beneath the nose. And the soul forgets everything that's been revealed. And what I found very peculiar about this particular patient is, if we can go back to the slide, is that when I examined her, I realized that she was born with a cleft palate. So I call her the case of the woman who remembered too much. That slap wasn't good enough, or complete enough. While we're talking about remembering, I'd like to show you some video from my 2003 Research Lecture Award. A lot of you may have seen it, but I think there are a lot of people here who haven't seen it. And it's a little bit of something to remember for me. I'm here with Dr. Harvey Chachanoff, who's an esteemed and accomplished researcher in psychosomatic medicine. Dr. Chachanoff, can you tell us why research in psychosomatic medicine is important?
Well, before I answer the question, I'd like to first extend my greetings to my friends and colleagues at the APM. I'm sorry I can't be there. I'm lecturing as we speak to the Australian Society of Clinical Oncology. I would have loved to have been there, Bill, to see you being presented with this award. You are so deserving and we're so proud of you. Now, why do I think this area of research is important? I guess it is essentially because it allows us to understand patients, not just in terms of the illnesses that they may be encountering, but in terms of the people that they are.
I see. And very interesting. And tell me, what do you think about Dr. Breitbart's research in this area in particular?
Well, when I think about it, Bill, your research is very similar to my research. Very similar to my research. I think my research may be better than your research, but hey, you know what? Why don't you ask Jimmy?
I see. Thanks very much. I'm here with Dr. Jimmy. I'd like to ask you a few comments about why you think research in psychosomatic medicine, particularly the interface of psychiatry and palliative medicine, are so important.
Well, Bill, I think that psychosomatic issues, psychiatric issues are important all along the continuum of cancer, but they become somewhat much more poignant towards the end of life, and I think that's where you put some of your efforts. It just makes me very proud to have you giving this research lecture today.
Thanks. Speaking of my research, Dr. Holm, what do you actually think about my research?
Well, you know, it's terrific. It is a little bit scattered from, all kinds of issues. And then there's Harvey's work, which is very focused. I have to say, it's terrific. But there is Chachanoff out there, and he's doing some really nice stuff in his life.
Well, thank you very much, This is my lovely wife, Rachel, in Breitbart. Hi, Rachel. I'm going to be showing this video clip at the Academy of Psychosomatic Medicine meeting at the 2003 Research Award lecture. It's all about my research. I just wanted to ask you, what do you actually think about my research, Rachel?
It's always about you, Bill, isn't it?